Very good morning, dear children. Welcome back to the class. This video is for class 10th, Science, chapter number 6, Life Processes, and this is lecture number 2 of this chapter. So, dear children, we have seen the introduction part of this chapter in which we have explained the life processes. We have understood what are life processes and why are they important and interconnected with each other. So, the first life process is the nutrition, the mode by which we absorb the energy. So, as we have seen the nutrition in plants and the nutrition in lower animals as well. So now in today's lecture, the topic that we are going to cover is nutrition in humans. So whenever we talk about the nutrition in humans, we know humans are the heterotrophs. Hetero means other, trophs means feeding. That means humans are the organisms which are dependent on other organisms, can be plant or animal, for their food or for their nutrition. So they cannot make their own food, and that's why they are dependent either on plants or animals for their food, and that's why they are called as heterotrophs. And even among the heterotrophs, they follow the Holozoic nutrition. Now, what do we mean by Holozoic nutrition? This type of nutrition is Holozoic nutrition means that the organism, they take the food as a whole, or we take the food in the form of solid materials. So we intake the solid food. Solid in the sense the food is, so we are obtaining the food in a complex form, whether it has been obtained from the plants or animals. There is a need to digest it or to break down this complex form of food into simpler parts, so that this can be absorbed by the body and we can get the energy. So this whole process of taking the food in, from the intake of the food and till the end, that means till the excretion of waste materials found in the process of digesting the food, the nutrition in humans has the 4 basic steps. First, ingestion. Ingestion means to take the food in through the mouth or the oral cavity. Then, digestion, breaking down the complex food material into simpler form of food. Absorption. Then the simpler form of food is absorbed from the stomach or the alimentary canal into the blood. Then egestion. Egestion is the process of excreting out the waste material or the unused part of the food out of the human body. So these are the all 4 steps. Now let us understand that how these 4 steps are processed under the human digestive system. If we talk about the human digestive system, then what makes the system? The organs which perform the process of ingestion, digestion, absorption and egestion, they together form the digestive system. So all the organs which perform all these 4 functions, which are ingestion, absorption, then second is digestion, absorption and egestion. So the organs performing all these 4 steps together make human digestive system. So So the system which performs the function of ingestion, digestion, absorption and egestion is called the human digestive system, and this digestive system is known as alimentary canal, which is present in the human body. This is the diagram from your NCERT book showing the human alimentary canal. So dear children, do not get confused that alimentary canal is only this tubular structure which supplies the food from mouth to stomach. No. It's basically the long tube extending from the mouth to the anus. This is the longest tube which starts from the mouth, ends up at the anus, and it has different shapes at different places according to its functions. So the canal that starts from the mouth and ends up at the anal is known as alimentary canal. Now let me tell you a little brief about the structure of the alimentary canal. The alimentary canal starts from the mouth, which is also called as buccal cavity or oral cavity. Mouth is, or the oral cavity or buccal cavity, is composed of tongue, teeth, cheeks, lips and the saliva, which is a salivary glands which are present in the mouth. So this cavity or this space is called the buccal cavity or oral cavity, and this cavity is used to inject the food. So the ingestion of food or intake of food takes place in the buccal cavity. Then we have the esophagus. Esophagus is a tubular structure which transfers the food from mouth to stomach. Here, this is the diaphragm that separates the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity. Here in the abdominal cavity, the alimentary canal is having a different structure. It is forming a sac-like structure which is stretchable and extends when the food enters into it, and this is called stomach. Then from the stomach, the food, after digestion of at least 10% digestion takes place here, and then further it enters into the small intestine. Small intestine is the narrow tubular structure and it is very long, but it is occupying a very little space because this is in the form of coils, and that's why it has been adjusted in a very small space. Then most of the digestion of the food takes place in the small intestine, and then food, here itself the blood absorbs the nutrients from the food, and then the waste material is transferred to the large intestine. Then large intestine absorbs the excess amount of water from the waste material, and then it transfers the food to the anus, from where it is excreted from the body. So now here you can see that there are some more organs which are attached to the stomach or the alimentary canal. They have their own purpose. Here we have the liver, gallbladder, bile duct, then pancreas. So all these are attached with the alimentary canal. Later on we'll understand that what happens in which part of the alimentary canal and how the food is digested in the alimentary canal. So here, if we talk about the alimentary canal, then first part where the ingestion of food takes place is the oral cavity or the mouth. Oral cavity comprises of tongue, teeth and salivary glands. Salivary glands, they secrete saliva. Now, you all know that all the food items or every human being eats up a variety of food. Food can be hard, soft, it can be solid, semi-solid or liquid. It can be of any type, any variety. So, all the food items that we intake, they need to be converted into a same texture. So, there is a need to convert them into the uniform texture, because further processing will not take place if the food is not broken down into the smaller pieces. So when we intake the solid or any food item, then first step is to chew the food. This process is also called as mastication. So first, the food is masticated. That means mechanically broken down into smaller pieces. So here, the food is mechanically broken down into smaller particles before being swallowed or being transferred to the esophagus. And the process of digestion takes place here in the mouth as well. The food that we are taking in is being converted into smaller parts, and here two types of changes are happening with the food. First, a physical change. Physical change is the chewing of food. That food is being masticated or mechanically broken down into smaller portions or smaller particles. It is done by the teeth and tongue. How it is done? That teeth, they chew the food and tongue helps to move it uniformly so that the food can be thoroughly broken down into the smaller parts. Then chemical changes also take place here. Now you might be thinking that what kind of chemical changes are taking place here? Now here, whenever we eat some food, we feel that our mouth is watery. It's not the water actually, it's the saliva, which is secreted by the salivary glands present in the buccal cavity. And what is the function of this saliva? Saliva moistens the masticated food, which is mechanically broken down, and here a very small part of the food is digested. What is being done here? That starch that we take from the plants, which is a form of carbohydrates, is being converted into the maltose, which is a type of sugar. But it's not as simpler as glucose, but still, what is starch? Starch is the complex chain of glucose. So this is the actual form in which the plants, they store their food. They make their food in the form of glucose, but they store the food in the form of starch. So this starch, which we are taking as a vegetable or the plant products, is being converted into the maltose, by an enzyme which is present in the saliva, because saliva is performing this function because one enzyme which is called as salivary amylase is present in the saliva, which partially digests the carbohydrates and breaks them down into the simpler forms. But remember, only partial digestion is taking place here, and in the mouth or the buccal cavity, the food is converted into a smooth paste, from where it has to be transferred into the esophagus. Second part of the alimentary canal is esophagus. Esophagus is a tubular structure which transfers the food from mouth to stomach, and it is having peristaltic movements so that the food can be moved through the tube-like structure or esophagus. Now, what is peristaltic movement? The esophagus or the tubular structure is a kind of having the muscles in such a form that they are circular in shape, just like the waves, like this. And when these two portions or the circular muscles, they contract, they push the food downward. Now, why there is a requirement of these kind of movements? Because now the food which was present in the mouth has become smooth like a paste, but it's not a liquid. That when we put the food into the esophagus, then it will itself move into the stomach. This does not happen, and that's why contractions in the muscles of esophagus takes place, because of which the food is pushed downward, and that's how the food moves in the esophagus. So these kind of movements are called peristaltic movements. So here no digestion of food takes place, but it serves as a passage only to transfer the food from mouth to the stomach. Now, from the esophagus, the food is transferring into a sac-like or a bag-like structure. It expands when the food enters into it. That means it is a stretchable part of the alimentary canal, which has the lining in its interior portion of the stomach. A stomach is a large organ which helps in digesting the food in different ways. Now, here the wall of the stomach is having the gastric glands, which secrete different types of gastric juices, which are HCl, pepsin, and mucus. Here also two types of processes are taking place. Now the food that enters into the stomach is a paste-like material. Still, there are a bit bigger particles in the food which need to be ground more. So the food is churned and grinded in the stomach also. And this kind of change or this kind of digestion is the physical digestion which is happening in the stomach with the help of the stomach walls. And the chemical changes or the chemical digestion that takes place here happens because of the gastric glands. Gastric glands, they secrete hydrochloric acid, pepsin and mucus. Now let us understand what is the function of each of them. So here HCl, we all know that this is hydrochloric acid. Pepsin is a protein digesting enzyme. So it's a protein digesting enzyme. And mucus is the inner lining, or you can say mucus forms a lining on the inner wall of the stomach, so that the stomach walls can be prevented from the burning sensation or any kind of damage because of the hydrochloric acid to the stomach walls. Here, carbohydrates are not digested in the stomach, as they were digested in the mouth, but here in the stomach, as we have the acidic medium because of the presence of hydrochloric acid, so carbohydrates are not digested further in the stomach, but the digestion of proteins takes place here in the stomach. Now, what is the function of hydrochloric acid then? The first function of hydrochloric acid is that it kills the bacteria present in the food, because we know that many a times that food which we are eating might be having many kinds of bacteria. So the bacteria is killed with the help of hydrochloric acid. The second function of it is that it provides an acidic medium which helps the pepsin enzyme to work, or it facilitates the working or the effect of pepsin on protein. So pepsin enzyme will work better efficiently or more efficiently if the acidic medium is there. So indirectly, HCl is helping in digestion of proteins. So you can say that by providing the acidic medium, HCl helps in protein digestion, and it also kills the bacteria present in the food. Mucus, it creates a lining on the inner wall of the stomach, so that the burning sensation because of the acid present in the stomach is avoided. So whenever there is a damage to the mucus or this lining of the stomach, then the burning sensation or the acidity problems, they are caused. Let us have a look on the reactions that take place inside the stomach. So we have the hydrochloric acid and pepsin, which are taking part in the chemical reactions to digest the food. Now here we have a proenzyme, which is an inactive enzyme which can digest the protein, but it gets activated only when the acidic medium is present. So pepsinogen is the proenzyme which gets activated when the HCl is present, and it gets converted into pepsin, which is the active enzyme which will work on the proteins to convert them into the simpler material. Then proteins, they are being converted into peptides, the simpler forms of protein, because proteins are the complex chains of amino acids. Now pepsin is causing them to break down into a comparatively simpler form, which is called as peptides. Then the next part of the alimentary canal is small intestine. Small intestine is a tubular structure which is very long, but it is being adjusted in a very small space because it has many number of coils where it is being placed. So here, before the food enters into the small intestine, there is a kind of valve which are called as sphincter muscles which allow the fine paste of food from the stomach into the small intestine. For example, it is behaving as a valve. Now the food is more fine, more smooth in stomach after the churning and the grounding of the food. So more grinding is done in the stomach. Now the size of the small intestine depends on that what kind of food we are taking in. For example, if we are taking some plant products, then for example herbivorous. So herbivorous, they take the plant products which is generally in the form of cellulose or starch. So these are the kind of food products which are hard to digest, or they take a long time to get digested, and that's why they have a, so the herbivorous, they have a large intestine so that cellulose can be converted into the nutrients. Then we have the carnivorous animals. They have small intestine. That means the length of the small intestine is less here. Why? Because they generally eat the meat which is easy to digest, and that's why they do not need a long intestine to convert the food or to absorb the food from the nutrients. Small intestine is the site of complete digestion. So here, if we talk about the percentage, then almost 90% of the digestion takes place in the small intestine. We have digested the carbohydrates a little in the mouth, then proteins a little in the stomach, and now carbohydrates, proteins, fats, they all are being digested into small intestine. Because the small intestine receives, there are 3 types of secretions in small intestine, because most of the part of digestion has to take place here in the small intestine. So almost all the parts of food should be digested here with the help of enzymes. Now from pancreas we are getting pancreatic juice in the small intestine. So pancreas is secreting pancreatic juices in the small intestine, which are trypsin, lipase and amylase. Here then liver is secreting the bile salts and bile juices into the small intestine, and here in the small intestine itself there are some intestinal glands which secrete the intestinal juices, which are peptidases, sucrases, maltases or lactases. So what is the function of all these? So the first function is of the liver. We know that the food coming from the stomach is acidic in nature, which also carries the carbohydrates in them which are not digested in the stomach. But to digest the carbohydrates or to break down them into the similar form, they need to be alkalined first, which is done with the help of bile salts. So what is the function of bile salts? Bile salts, they neutralize the effect of hydrochloric acid so that the carbohydrates can be acted upon by the pancreatic juices so that they can be digested easily. Then what is the function of bile juice? As the food item that we carry in our stomach also contains fats. Now what is these fats? Fats are the big droplets of oil or the lipids. So these are insoluble and they keep on spreading on the surface and do not digest easily because they are large enough in size. So what the bile juices do, the bile salts and the bile juices, they break down them into smaller globules. Now this will increase the efficiency of the enzyme action. So this is a kind of emulsification process of the fats. So fats are being emulsified. Now what do you mean by emulsified? That with the help of bile juices we can make them into smaller droplets. Just like we have studied in the case of emulsification or the action of soap or detergent on the dirt particles, that they trap the dirt into themselves so that it can be removed from the clothes. So the same is done with the globules, which are big in size of fat. They are being emulsified, and now the action of pancreatic juices will take place on them. So till now we know that bile juices and bile salts, first they help in neutralizing the effect of acid so that carbohydrates can be digested, because they cannot be digested into the acidic medium. And one more work of bile juices is that they emulsify the fats into the smaller droplets. Now these emulsified fats, they are acted upon by the lipase. And what the lipase do with the fat, the emulsified fat, that it breaks down the fatty emulsified fats into the fatty acids. So lipase works on fats, trypsin is helping in digesting protein, and amylase, as it was also present in the saliva, it works on the digestion of carbohydrates. In the acidic medium, they were not getting digested, but here the acidic medium has been neutralized. So amylase, which is present in the pancreatic juices, can work on the carbohydrates to digest them. So it is the form of starch which is being converted into glucose. Now the trypsin will digest the protein and will convert the protein into peptides. Fats will be converted into the fatty acids. Amylase, that is the starch, is being converted into some other form of sugar which is less complex. Now what is the function of intestinal juices? We have the peptidases, sucroses, maltases and lactase as well. So what all these enzymes do, that peptides, they work on the peptides so that they can be converted into amino acids from which they are made up of. So amino acids are the nutrients which can directly be absorbed. Then sucrases, they convert the form of sucrose into glucose. Maltases, they convert the maltase into glucose, which is the simpler form and can be directly absorbed. So now let us have a look at the chemical reactions that are taking place in the small intestine. So children, here the digestion of the food particles is being done, which is the second step of the digestive system or nutrition in humans. So the starch or the carbohydrates, they are acted upon by the amylase, which is a pancreatic juice, and being converted into either maltose, sucrose or lactose. Then intestinal juices like maltases, sucrases or lactases, they work on the starch or the form of starch which is maltose, sucrose and lactose, and they convert them into the glucose, which is the simplest form of the carbohydrates. So now the carbohydrates are 100% digested and they are having the simplest form like glucose. So from here they can be directly absorbed. Then we have the proteins. Proteins, they are acted upon by trypsin, which is a pancreatic juice. Then proteins are getting converted into peptides. Then peptidases, which are coming from the intestinal juices, they convert them into amino acids from where they can be directly absorbed. Then we have the fats. So fats, first bile juices act on them and they convert them into emulsified fat. Then this emulsified fat is worked by the enzyme lipase, and lipase converts them into the fatty acids. So fatty acids are the simpler form of fats and they can be directly absorbed by the blood. So this is how the digestion takes place in the small intestine. Now the next step in the digestion of food is absorption. So the digested food is taken up by the walls of intestine because the inner lining of small intestine has numerous finger-like structures. I'm just making one, but if this is the lining, inner lining of the intestine, small intestine, then these are the finger-like foldings on the inner wall of the intestine which absorb the nutrients from the intestine and they directly give them to the blood. Because let us take the enlarged image of a villi. So why these are in the form of folds? Because this way the surface area is increased and more absorption of the nutrients can take place. So now we have the fatty acids, amino acids, glucose which can be directly absorbed through these villi. These are called villi which lie on the inner wall of the intestine. Here we have the blood vessels inside the villi which absorb the nutrients and they circulate the nutrients to the different body parts where the food is being utilized or the nutrients are being utilized to perform various functions. So to absorb the nutrients from the intestine or from the food and then circulating them to the various parts of body for utilizing for doing various functions is called the assimilation of food. Now the next step is digestion. That means the good part of the food or the nutrients have been absorbed by the villi or the small intestine. They are in the blood now. Now what about the waste product or the rest of the part, food part which is there in the intestine? So this undigested part of the food is transferred into the next part of the alimentary canal which are large intestine. It is also a tubular structure which is having a larger diameter. Here the undigested food particles come. And what is the function of large intestine? That it absorbs the excess amount of water from the undigested food because there is a requirement of water inside the human body. So the water is absorbed by the large intestines and the rest of the material is removed from the body via anus. So first the food goes into the large intestine through the sphincter muscles. Then the food goes to the colon, rectum, and then the last point of the waste food item is anus, from where the excretion or the egestion of the food takes place. Here at the anus part also we have the sphincter muscles which remove the waste material outside the body. So this is how the complete digestive system of a human body works. Now let's have a quick recap of the human alimentary canal. So we know that this is the buccal cavity or the oral cavity which is taking in or which is ingestion, where the ingestion of the food is taking place. Here we have the teeth and the tongue, which helps in chewing the food or to make it in a uniform texture. Then this food can be of varieties. So first it is being converted into uniform texture and is moistened with the help of saliva, which is secreted by the salivary glands of the buccal cavity. Then the smooth paste of the food is being transferred into the esophagus, which is a tubular channel. So this is just a passage, no digestion of food takes place here, but in the buccal cavity with the help of saliva, which is having the enzymes called amylase, the partial digestion of carbohydrates takes place. Then further, when the food reaches to the stomach is a sac-like structure which extends on when the food enters into it. It is having the muscles which help in grinding the food more and more, because still the food is having bigger particles, so they need to be grounded more, which is done with the help of muscles of the stomach. Stomach is having hydrochloric acid in it. It is also having pepsin, enzyme and mucus, which are all secreted by the gastric glands present in the inner lining of the stomach. So HCl, it kills the bacteria coming in the food, and it also provides the acidic medium for the protein digestion. Then pepsin is an enzyme which works on the digestion of proteins in the stomach. So here the protein digestion is taking place. Then we have mucus. Mucus is the inner lining on the wall of the stomach, which prevents the burning sensation, or which prevents the wall of the stomach from the acidic atmosphere of the stomach. Then we have the sphincter muscles. Sphincter muscles, they allow the fine paste of these food into the small intestine. So this portion that is looking here is called your small intestine. Just see it clearly that here what is happening, almost all the digestion takes place into the small intestine. It can be having varying length depending upon the adaptability of the food that we intake. For example, if we take plant products, then the intestines are long, but if we take the animal products, then intestine in those kind of animals or organisms is small. Then what is there in the intestine? As I told you, most of the digestion takes place into the small intestine. It is having the pancreatic juices coming from the pancreas, bile salts coming from the liver, and intestinal juices which are secreted by the small intestine itself. So pancreatic juices are trypsin, lipase and amylase. Trypsin digests the protein, lipase digests the fats, and amylase digests the carbohydrates. But first, before digesting the carbohydrates, there is a need to remove the acidic effect which was coming in the food from the stomach. So that is being performed by the bile salts and bile juices which are coming from the liver. So the bile juices, they remove the acidic effect, or they neutralize the acidic effect, and bile salts, they emulsify the fats. Then the emulsified fats are digested with the help of pancreatic enzyme, which is called as lipase, and being converted into fatty acids. Carbohydrates are being digested with the help of pancreatic enzyme called amylase and converted into glucose. And then which one is left? Protein. So protein is being converted into peptides with the action of enzyme trypsin, which is coming from the pancreatic juices, and these peptides are being converted into the amino acids with the help of peptidases, which are coming from the intestinal juices. So this is how we are getting the nutrients which are amino acids, fatty acids and glucose, which can directly be absorbed in the blood through the finger-like structures, which are the foldings on the inner lining of the small intestine, which are called as villi. So villi is the structure which absorbs the nutrients from the food. Now the remaining food, which is undigested or which is not having the nutrients or which is waste for us, is being transferred into the large intestine, where the excess amount of water is absorbed from the food item. It is also called as colon. And then after absorbing the food, the solid waste is transferred through the sphincter muscles to the anus, from where it is removed outside the body. So this is how the nutrition in human body takes place. In today's homework, you have 5 in-text questions at page number 101. The first question is, what are the differences between autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition? Question number 2 is, where do plants get each of the raw material required for the photosynthesis? Question number 3 is, what is the role of acid in our stomach? Question number 4 is, what is the function of digestive enzymes? Question number 5 is, how is the small intestine designed to absorb digested food? So you are supposed to do these 5 questions in your fair notebook. Now, if we talk about the solutions of homework of lecture number 1. So dear, they are being explained in a separate video along with the same video that you are watching now. So after watching the lecture number 2, also watch the homework solutions of lecture number 1. Thank you.